the way that the lighting's working. Why is that? All right. It's come to my attention some things. First of all, yes, there was a very specific and strategic time frame during which the daughter scam ended up going from the FBI to the DOE. And it got set up in Texas. So here's the situation: the FBI has absolutely no right to say that the people of the state of Texas, via the state of Texas, are on the hook for paying for any fees or anything else associated with the investigation of Kenneth Paxton. Why? Because Paxton was not the appropriate target. You should have gone after the governor. You should have gone after the former governor, who, by the way, ended up becoming the Secretary of Energy. And you should have gone after the former Attorney General, who, by the way, ended up becoming the senator. Anything short of that makes this sound like what you're doing is you're setting up a situation to get a payoff for trafficking children of members of the FBI. That's not acceptable. And it's also not acceptable for you or anybody else associated to retract or try to leverage a situation where they're trying to get their own material personal needs met in abrogation of their duty to actually provide for the welfare of the country. This is one of these things that goes into being involved with public service, up to and including law enforcement, and up to and including the military. You're supposed to be well compensated and provided with the protections you need to do your job safely. That includes actually being able to take care of your children as well. And you're also supposed to be held to a certain standard, including a higher standard. Not only in terms of your professional conduct, but also in terms of you preparing the members of your family and your community to understand that by your service, they are going to be exposed to things associated with your participation and their relationship to you as family members. Could put them at different risk, but then could also provide them with different tools that they could use to help people in the community as well. And so doing these things legally and constitutionally and ethically and transparently is the major deciding factor in terms of the value that law enforcement and veterans, as well as other people in public service, up to and including formerly elected to public office, contribute to the public trust, contribute to the public good. So when we're talking about the value of our society, and we're talking about the value of our state, and we're talking about our obligations and our capacity to meet them, those things are very, very, very important, and how we handle them are very important. So if you were a member of law enforcement and somebody decided that they were going to involve a situation, and I'm talking about federal law enforcement, and they were going to set up a situation with a corrupt branch in one state under the authority of state actors to set up a scheme to traffic your children, then you already know that wasn't isolated, was it? And it's not the kind of thing you contain and just keep in the family and say, all right, well, now we're going to go bust this guy so that you can pay off the fact that we caught you. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like a bribe. It sounds like very, very, very complicated, horrible, terrible bribe. You don't get to keep that in the family, and you don't get to give a payoff on that either. If you thought that you were going to leverage some civil payouts in order to keep quiet details connected to things like, I don't know, police shooting of unarmed people that may fit a racial profile, this absolutely fits many racial profiles. You don't get to put a lid on that, and you don't get to keep it confidential, because now what it seems like is that you allowed for yourselves, if you are in fact trying to do this through the FBI or the Department of Justice, and or allowing again for the Department of Justice and the FBI to be usurped or impeded by somebody claiming to operate under the auspices of the Department of State, then what you're doing is accepting a bribe or accepting some other form of payoff to keep quiet about crimes that affect other people besides just you and your loved ones, by the way. Because if they'll do that with the FBI and be able to put a payoff on that, then what is the rest of us supposed to expect? And the thing is, you would then be expecting everybody else that didn't fit into that class to pay the payoff with you. And that's not acceptable. There's a higher standard. And because there's a higher standard, there's also necessarily more significant consequences for somebody that thinks they're going to work a hustle on that level. And so that's what you have to deal with right now. It's absolutely unacceptable for the FBI to be talking about trying to make the people of the state of Texas foot the bill for their investigation of Kenneth Paxton. Because A, they went after the wrong people. And B, because of the implications of what is involved. If there is a situation where, as I've already alleged, and I've already been able to provide proof to, that there has been an attempt to unduly influence operations of the Department of Justice and or the FBI as part of criminal activity that is also attempting to abuse access to or patronage of other federal agencies that believe that they can trump the mandate because of what they do, well, then we're talking about very, very significant and serious crimes and potentially impeachable offenses. If that's the case, you don't get a kickback. You don't get a payoff. You don't get a bribe. This isn't even extortion. This is worse. So that's not acceptable.